All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Goose, Heck, and the crew from Naked Brewing Bristol. In this episode, we have the crew from Naked Brewing Bristol. We cover topics that range from small business ownership, brewing beer, customer service, effects of the coronavirus, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Vincent, Gogh, and Louis Robert Stevenson. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, guys, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Sorry for the painful technical difficulties here. We're not used to that, but
we are.
Yes. All right. No, fair enough. But everyone's here in good spirits, so we appreciate it. And we also have Hannah and Goose joining us via Zoom. And we're here on site. So, for those of us who do not know who you guys are and what you do, let us know.
Jim, one of the founders and owners of Naked Brewing, started in 2010. So,
I'm Sean. I'm co-owner. I run things.
yes.
All right, so let's jump right in, right? So how did it actually all get started? Were you guys just crafting your own brews? How did it even begin, or how did the idea come about? I know we shared our inspirational story about how the podcast got started. How did you guys get started?
Yeah, same kind of idea. I mean, I started home brewing basically out of high school.
Oh, wow.
Think about like when Sierra Nevada and Anchor Steam and Dogfish and stuff like that came around. Couldn't really afford that kind of beer back then, so I decided, hey, let me get my hand at it and try it in the backyard, and kind of sparked it, and on and off I've been doing that pretty much since 1990. And then about 2010, decided to, actually a little before then, 2008, decided to, join a homebrew club, the Aliens at Humeville, and started up with my with Brian at the time, and I started brewing in his garage in Feasterville, and started the company 2010, I guess. Got licensed on April Fool's Day of 2012.
Nice.
In the mail, and it's been from that point on, yeah. So within about 6 months, we moved to our current production facility location, our first spot, which is in Huntington Valley.
Okay.
So we have a tap room there as well too. But we started off on equipment that we built ourselves. 55-gallon stainless steel drums, all electric. Double the capacity, had 110-gallon fermenters back then, and over the years as the rules have changed, and they let us open up a tap room and increased our production facility, and until we worked our way into this point, and now we have Hannah crushing it on the brew house, and just making some really tasty beers, and spent our time, decided to open up another spot right before COVID hit, and
Yeah, we were set to open March 20th of last year.
yeah.
Wow.
They closed everything down on the 16th.
Yeah, so, right now, the three of us are basically pushing forward, and our things are the same as always. Make the best quality product you possibly can, and serve it the best way you know how. There are two things you can control the most, and, just as long as you're true to yourselves, so.
So how did you come up with the name? Once you figured out, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to, figure out everything else, but the name obviously getting established. You're part of the Aliens.
Yeah, we were members of Aliens.
So
we
did
started
anything
at the time.
come from out of them, or is more of just a learning experience?
Mostly learning. I mean, the learning experience is incredible. The homebrew community is absolutely spectacular. I mean, some of the best beers you'll probably have. I mean, guys are just been doing it for decades, just really wanted to stay at that level. But, I mean, homebrew clubs have birthed. I mean, the Chamonix, us,
Free
Will,
Wow.
Broken Goblet. I mean,
Nice.
it's such a great community of people. It's kind of like, hey, let's see what we can make, and just give our hands and give it a try, and want to put it out there. It's changed so dramatically over the last decade or so. It's been awesome. I mean, so.
So when you came up, how did you decide the name?
The name itself. So when we started, we were using well water and composting all of our grains and all. We're like, it's a really natural way to brew. But we're a little more tongue in cheek and goofy about it. So we wanted kind of a more fun way to just say the word natural, and so we're like, Naked's a fun way to say natural. I think it also refers to the way like we're not. There's no real ego involved in what we do. I mean, we know we do the best job we can, but there's no pretentiousness in what we're trying to do. It's just we're making the best beer we know how to, and we're going to show it to you the best way we know how. So it's a very natural way of going and everything. So
I'll start with you girls. So then Hannah and Sean, start with you, Sean, first. Then how did you guys come on board, and how did that all pan out?
So Brian was my neighbor, actually, and they needed a bartender. So I used to run a bar back in my 20s, like a trucker bar.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can sling beer. That's easy. I needed some extra money.
Yeah.
So I got involved, and I just started bartending. And then I've always considered myself a beer snob.
Sure.
So I really enjoyed the beers that I was slinging over at Naked Brewing, and I got more involved in the process, and I wanted to learn more about the production side of things.
Yeah.
So the actual making of the beer. And we decided to buy in as an ownership, 6 years ago?
yeah,
I don't know. Time is so weird right now.
Yeah.
So we bought into it, and that's how I got involved. And then, and then I ended up actually leaving Naked for a short time, and I went to another brewery and did production there for them. I did events, and then I got into really got into the production side and learned a lot, and worked with some fantastic brewers. And that's how I met Hannah as well, being involved in Pink Boots Society, which is Women in Brewing.
Okay.
So that's actually how I met Hannah, and Hannah and I have been friends for probably 5 years, right? And just hit it off and became friends and confidants, and always enjoyed her, and she's just a kick-ass person anyway. And actually, you're welcome. I love you. COVID brought so much negative, but I keep saying this, like, one of the positive is that we got Hannah.
Yeah.
Like, there was definitely that yin and yang, and that was a positive of COVID that came out. And I think our beer is so much better now than it ever was. She's very critical of herself.
Yeah.
She overthinks, but we laugh at her.
I am. I say that with sarcasm.
It's not a bad thing.
No, I know. I'm very self-aware.
Just to jump in there real quick. I mean, I love, 2020 was such a difficult time for so many people. It was for us as well, but I feel like we've had this conversation too. We've stayed so true to ourselves and really have done what the core of the three of us believe in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I feel like it almost distilled down everything about it. Like, what are we really about? What do we really want to do? And I feel like we have had the opportunity to kind of go, okay, here's what we're going to do, because why not? It's 2020. Nobody knows what's going to happen after this. So let's just do what we really want to do. And I don't know.
So many breweries, the big word is pivot, and the whole thing with food, where they were making you serve food. So a lot of breweries, let's start a kitchen, and we talked about it. What are we going to do with some of the money that we did get from the loans to help us get through? And we decided just to put our money into the product, and having a higher quality product. And Hannah has been a huge part of that, and taking us in different directions. And
the packaging.
We never canned before.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't even part of the deal when we brought her on. I think we decided to do that 2 or 3 weeks into it, and all of a sudden I'm like, we're going to can. And she went, oh, okay. Like, that's different.
Make no mistake about it, it was part of my grand plan when I started there. I just didn't think that it was going to happen. Like, I didn't think I was going to walk in on a Monday morning and Sean was going to say, hey, by the way, we're going to start canning now. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Guess all of the, things that I had rehearsed in my head, all the reasoning, why we should be moving in this direction. I guess I don't have to make that plea anymore.
We always seem to say we agree with what we want to do, and we just go, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's really, there's nothing, it's like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
No. How do we make that happen? It's
Absolutely.
Just,
So there seems to be obviously a great connection between you three. So Hannah, how to explain your perspective on getting started and joining the crew here?
Yeah, so I've been brewing professionally since 2015, but I've been in the industry since 2013. So I was a long-time home brewer, and 2020 was a weird year for me professionally and personally. I was actually out on medical leave for the first half of 2020. So when I was able to come back and brew again. The opportunity was presented to me to join the Naked team. And I jumped at it. As Sean said, she and I have been friends for years, and Jim and I were friends too. Just we didn't know each other as well, but Sean and I knew each other pretty well. So it was kind of a, I don't want to say a no-brainer. By the way, I'm sorry that my cat is going crazy right now.
That's okay.
This is her domain up here. Yeah, I don't know. Micah, can you go away, please?
It's a new cat. It's a new cat beer.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, I am drinking cat.
New birthday cat. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Now she's staring me down. Like, why? Why are you?
You're acting
me?
different.
It's my turn.
It's not one animal; it's another animal. My dog is in my bedroom right now. Anyway, so when Sean approached me about joining, I was super excited. I was, as they both said, I'm very self-critical, so I was full of self-doubt and questions like, can I do this? Am I ready to do this? This is a pretty big undertaking, but as it turns out, you don't forget things as easily as you think that you do. And when you're given the opportunity to spread your wings, you do. And it's been pretty unreal, the amount of growth that I think I've had in the 9 months that I've been there. And honestly, I think a lot of that growth happened within like the first 3 months. I walked into a brew house that, because of COVID, hadn't been brewed in I don't know, 2 or 3 months at that point, probably. So walking into a cold brew house was interesting. Into a brew house that I didn't know. I had never brewed on it before. Well, that's not true. I take that back. I did brew on that system one time. But yeah, so it was kind of intimidating, but also really empowering when I did that first brew. Hit all the numbers that I was looking for, and it's been a pretty trippy ride. I'm really proud of what we're doing as a team. The three of us work really well together. It's open lines of communication, and from an outsider's perspective, because obviously I wasn't part of the brewery prior to COVID, but I feel like 2020 and the pandemic almost allowed for this like reemergence, reinvention, and it kind of came together as a package deal in a sense, that things hadn't been open for several months, so all of a sudden now Naked was opening again with new beers, a new brewer, and within 2 months of me starting, we released our first set of cans. So it's been, I think, just a whole lot of new things for all of us involved, and we're figuring it out as we go. All of us have skill sets that we're really good at, and then we're really good at figuring out how to blend those, which I think is hugely important, especially when you're part of a really small team, because you have to be good at so many different things, but you can't be great at everything, and so trusting those around you to fill in those areas that you're less proficient in, I guess. That's something that requires a huge amount of trust. And I don't know, that can be tough, but I think we've made it work. I think we've made it work really well.
Yes.
So to jump in, how did you guys go from, I believe, Huntington Valley to Bristol? Obviously, pre-pandemic, you guys had no idea, anything was going to happen. What was that decision making like, and how'd that process work out?
Well, we were looking for a second taproom location. So then in different areas, Bristol was just up and coming. I mean, you had just gotten that huge thing on TV.
Yeah. Actually,
What was that?
The best small town in America.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a
Business
big,
revolution.
yes. So there was that, and then you met. How'd you meet Joe?
We were pouring at Bolton Mansion,
Oh, nice. It's right around the corner from our
and
house.
he was across the way from us, and our eyes locked. And look at this wonderful, bald, tattooed man. Like, what do you have over there? And it was just like,
That's
we always say
right.
it's like love at first sight. It's just,
And then we
what do
started
you guys have?
pouring events upstairs,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He just raised one eyebrow and then that.
It's exactly what it does. And
Rock thing that it does.
I quivered and fell down or something like that. It could have been the beers I had too, though. So it's
But
hard
we
to
looked
tell.
at a couple different properties.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, we were looking to buy something
Right
down there,
on
and
Mill
just-
Street, in fact. And then it was just, one didn't work out, the other just needed way too much work.
Yeah.
And then Joe was like, come look at downstairs. So he came down and looked at it, and he's like, you got to look at this place. You got to see this. And I walked in with you, and just imagine, this is where this is going to go, and this is going to be the stage. And
Yeah, I'm very visual when I walk into a space. I
Yeah.
go, this is how I want it to look. The
Yeah,
brewery's
for
the
sure.
same way. It's
Yeah.
like,
so it was him
I
with
just-
the vision, and Joe.
And Joe,
And
yeah,
my
yeah.
only ask was the glass door.
glass
That was my
door.
one ask.
Nice.
Um,
It's a nice touch.
But the minute you walk in here, I mean, you guys now have been. It's like
Yes.
there's a vibe to this. It's
Yes.
just this positive energy. It's
Yes,
just
absolutely.
fantastic. I love it.
Just coming from the outside, and I was walking in.
It-
Let me get closer.
Yeah, yeah.
Walking in from outside, when I started taking pictures, I was like, this energy was like,
Yeah.
this place already seems cool. Like, and then walking in, meeting you guys for the first time was like
Yeah.
amazing. Like,
It has that awesome characteristic of like kind of coming in almost from the forest and into the beginning of the opening of a
Yes.
cave mouth, and then just as you get in, it's deeper and just more. It's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
bigger than
it's
you think as
magical.
you walk in.
Yeah.
yes, it is very. Yes.
But yeah,
It
so that
does have very much like the feeling of catacombs.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, like a beer or wine cellar.
Well, it was a beer cellar. Schmidt's beer?
Schmitz or Schlitz. I can't get a straight
Yeah, I was
answer.
getting-
They used to store cold storage
That's
some
what
stuff.
that room is.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It has the original
Yeah,
doors on it and
that's a
everything.
cold box. It was a cold box.
We're going to have to check that out.
yeah, it's cool.
All right, and so then that relationship obviously with Joe built, and then you guys started building away, I'm assuming, and then
Yeah, the
This
original. Yeah, we spent. Geez, about now
year.
it's been a couple years now. Yeah, it was a year before we opened, a little more than a year. And the original opening date was supposed to be last March. So we were on the what's the name of it?
The Leprechauns
The
for
Leprechauns for Lou. We were supposed to be one of the stops on that, which would have been the beginning of March of last year, and then it was like
to
boom.
kick things off.
And then
to the
First
pub
Fridays
crawl.
and all that, and then,
Yeah, so.
apocalypse happens. And
And we put everything to kind of sleep at that point. I mean, I know that's on your agenda. I know.
No, it's
Yeah.
fine. So let's talk about that, right? So because a lot of people see, like the great brew that you guys have and the atmosphere, but the small business aspect of it is what a lot of people oversee or just are not aware is happening behind the scenes. It could be, all the challenges that you face on a typical basis, let alone a pandemic that no one knew was going to basically drop kick us all. Walk us through that experience, the conversations, maybe the tough conversations you had to have, maybe even with each other.
in the beginning, I mean, we all honestly believed it was only going to be 2 weeks.
I think that's a comment that we all thought that, yeah.
So, we laid everybody off.
Yeah, we're. I mean, here's the thing with us. I mean, we are. Everything is about family for us.
Yeah.
You have to do something for your family, for yourselves. It's whatever you need. Everything comes first. We have a couple people who are in college. School comes first. It's we're parents that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this hit and it was kind of like.
Our brewer at the time, his wife was pregnant. They were getting ready to have a baby.
Beginning of April.
Yeah, beginning of April, and everybody, nobody knew what to, we thought you look at each other and you would get this. You didn't know.
Yeah.
So we laid everybody off because we kind of knew it wasn't going to be 2 weeks. We felt it.
Yeah,
we felt it was going to be longer.
We had 3 beers in production at the time, so we kind of put everything to sleep a little bit and went, all right,
and we
let's
closed
take a
as a
breath.
business for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. okay.
Voluntarily. Before
Yeah.
the governor even told people that they had to shut down. We voluntarily did it that Sunday. We weren't the only brewery. There was other breweries that did as well. And then it was just like, so what can we do now? Like, are we allowed to open? Are we not? Like, the government didn't even know. We had no guidance.
Yeah.
And then the whole hand sanitizer insanity.
Oh,
Was, I would forget about all that.
I did forget about that.
I know.
And toilet paper.
Well, we wanted to
Well, no,
make hand
being able to
sanitizer.
make hand sanitizer.
Oh, I got you. Yes,
So that was a
yes,
big
yes.
thing.
Yeah.
A lot of local breweries were making what we call sugar wash.
Yeah.
And then you would take it to a distillery and they would distill it into hand sanitizer.
Gotcha.
And a lot of local breweries did that, right, Hannah? And, well, not a lot, but a couple
We're
did.
trying to, yeah.
But the funny thing is with our government, the different departments don't talk to each other. So it was
You had
the U.S.
Yeah, you had federal guidance that it had to be a certain way. So all these places were churning out all this basically sugar wash, and then they went, well, you didn't go through the proper process. So it
One
wasn't-
government agency is sending out recipes on how to make it, and then another agency is saying, well, you can't do that because you're not a pharmaceutical company.
Oh,
So
It's crazy.
it was crazy. And then, whatever, we couldn't even, we tried so hard and we couldn't, like, nobody, I don't know, it was crazy. It was so much red tape.
In hindsight, it probably is best that
It was.
you didn't, because
You look at the tax thing that happened.
yeah.
Well, they waived that at least, but yeah.
They did waive it. They were going to make all these people pay these dues and these taxes because they were pharmaceutical instead of a distillery. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but on the I mean, again, here's what's so great about this community. Here's all these breweries and distilleries that went, what can we do to help?
Yeah.
Like, everybody jumped in and went, no problem, we can distill. I mean, because we have friends in distilleries and all. Hey, no problem. What do you want us to do? When we were mobilized.
Yeah.
Let us do something.
Yeah.
And like back to your point, it's like we were there, ready to do it. We could make it. And it was kind of like, nah, these guys are doing this.
Yeah.
So it was a very bizarre time.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So what do you think the biggest lesson there was? I mean, outside of the hand wash stuff, but just what have you learned out of 2020? Let's just say.
Oh, jeez.
Because Hannah, you spoke about how much you grew personally, and then you guys did start canning, right? There's some positives.
I mean, pivot was a big word. You're always pivoting. You can't take anything for granted.
Sure.
Everything that you felt was normal, I mean, it changes. It still changes daily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's been the hardest year of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, we both have families too.
Of course.
And they're home, like I'm homeschooling 3 children, well 2, and I'm trying to run a business. Nobody wants to work because they're making too much money on unemployment.
Right.
It's so hard. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish I could find more people, bartenders. You can't. They're
Yeah.
making too much money.
Yeah.
It was almost harder to open up to a certain percentage because she basically bartends here almost every night, and then we're open at the other spot. But it's getting better now. But I don't know. It's hard to look back because I think what we got out of it and these trials that we went through, like, I love where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Like, to me, this is the boiled down version of what I always hoped this company could be.
Yeah.
With the right, so I'm like, it was worth it going through every bit of that and more to get to kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm completely at peace with it. Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But the thing that's funny, like when this started coming, it's like everybody was so like concerned. We always say it's like the first 2 weeks, everybody was like completely on board and every side. I don't talk about like the public in general, and then it went like downhill from there. So like as soon as you opened, it was kind of like, I don't know what it was.
People forgot how to people.
God,
That's
yeah.
what I keep saying.
Yeah.
They just forgot how to people.
They were too used to being behind their keyboards, I think.
Yeah.
But
They go out and they get, and I don't know.
my beer's a little, this isn't quite right, or I can't believe you didn't come over. I'm like, are you kidding me? We're in a pandemic. I'm glad we're serving you a beer.
It affected everything, the whole supply chain. I mean, it affected your ingredients. I mean, everything. Price has gone up.
Right.
Cans, like that's a huge thing was this year for us was cans,
Yeah, we locked
ingredients.
out. You were smart with all that stuff. With the cans.
It's affected everything. And being a small business, what people don't realize is it cost us more for everything because we can't buy it in large quantities.
Right,
so the smaller you are, the more expensive your product's going to be because it's more expensive for the ingredients. And we knew that going into this, and we said, well, let's just buy the best ingredients that we can.
Yeah.
And as far as a positive coming out of this, I think is as far as having Hannah, but also having a better quality product because we said, listen, we have to do what we have to do to survive, and we're not going to do it by, toasting toasting hot cheese sticks in a microwave to serve. I don't want to be a restaurant. I want to make.
People were coming up with.
I'm not making egg rolls, so you come in and buy crappy
bagel
beer.
bites.
We're gonna make good
beer, and then you're serving bagel bites.
Right. We had Uncrustables.
Yeah, we're gonna make great beer, and here's an Uncrustable. Just don't eat it. So.
It did get that point.
Yeah.
Toward the end, I would put stale ones on the table. I'm like, listen, just don't eat it.
I mean, that was like the challenge you said about the pivot, like stuff like that. As fairly logical people, what does me giving you an Uncrustable do in the grand scheme of a virus situation? So it was stuff like that. Went, okay, that's what you want though. Sure,
just to appease them. Yeah, and it kind of felt like they were just like stringing people along. It was like they just or something new would come. Yeah, it changes daily.
I think looking back, I think what they could have done. I mean, I get what they were trying to accomplish, which was limit the amount of time that people were spending, but still allowing a partially open spot.
Sure.
To me, it would have been like, hey, come on in. You got an hour, or you got an hour and a half, and leave. To me, like offering food would lend you to stay longer. Right, so it just that seemed antithetical to, but. Whatever. It was kind of fun to watch. Yeah. You needed to almost step back and have your popcorn and go, this is the craziest I've ever seen in my life, but hey, it's life right now. It's like a simulation.
Right.
I talk about you're in a simulation. Yeah, it's kind of felt like that. So,
but it's also caused the Pennsylvania to change a lot of their liquor laws too. So now we can ship within state if we want. Mm-hmm. We were never allowed to do that before.
Wow.
In state, we can
take out cocktails
from
places.
Home
delivery.
Yeah.
Take out cocktails. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally. Our other place, we weren't allowed to be inside, and we're not licensed outside at all, so it had to be considered takeout. So in order for it to be takeout, I had to buy lids. So we would serve a pint with a lid, with a sticker over the straw.
Plastic cup,
plastic cup, right. I mean, we're spending more money. We had to spend more money in order to do this.
And we'd have 80 people out in the parking lot.
Oh my god!
Because they would bring their own chairs. Like, it was just the craziest thing. We're like, you're not allowed inside unless you're using the bathroom. Meanwhile, it's a party all summer outside because people just are happy to be out. And they're socially distanced because we have a big parking lot there. But we were allowed to do that then because COVID.
Right.
But not now because not COVID. You know what I mean? It's like, you guys don't even make any sense. So it's just, very strange.
So, all right. So explain the canning thing, because that's what I feel like is a big step, right?
No, I won't.
No.
Sorry. No.
So explain your experience, and do you still think it's something to pursue, and you're moving forward with?
People like pretty cans.
Yeah.
They like that beer in cans.
That's what he saw the can. He's like, I'm buying. He wanted to taste the beer just because it was appealing. A little superficial.
It's how you take your product to the next level. Honestly, it's in 2020, 2021 beer world, people expect there to be cans available. Yeah. It's just that's just the language of craft beer. Yeah. And they want to be able to not only have the cans for themselves, but they want to be able to take it and share it with their friends, or ship it to their friends, or trade it, or split 4-packs with other people, or take it to a beer share of some sort, which obviously is a little bit harder during the pandemic, especially during the height of it. But that's the currency of craft beer is cans.
Label art.
And it's marketing and advertising, and that was something that I think the three of us were pretty adamant about, is that our labels have some level of consistency to them. So they all have sort of the same template, same format. I came from a brewery that was a large packaging brewery, and I did some of the marketing and label design there. So I did come with a little bit of that experience and opinion on some of that. So one of the things that I thought was really important is having brand recognition, and you build that by having a consistent aesthetic, something that people can see on a shelf. Even if they can't read what type of beer it is, they can just recognize, oh, that's a Naked beer. You look at Nishamine's label art and their format, like you see that on a shelf somewhere, and you're like, I don't even need to see what type of beer that is. I know that Nishamine did that. Same with like Victory and Dogfish Head, things like that. So I think just getting that template down, getting that format down was really important. And then beyond that is when you get to have that creative freedom to really design that label.
I think it's interesting because my brother-in-law is really into the whole IPA scene and whatever, and it's funny because there's even companies that he has no idea, I've never heard of them, but he wants to try it. Just number one, it's an IPA, so he knows what he's right. somewhat getting, but because of the label, right? And it was just this branding, what Hannah's talking about. It's as simple as it caught my eyes. I don't know.
I don't know if you looked at our labels. I love our labels. We have 2 artists that work for us, but primarily our primary artist is an 18-year-old young woman.
Wow.
She's my daughter's best friend, and she's a freshman at Moore College of Art.
Wow.
So a lot of the artwork she does freehand. Some of the stuff she does do digitally, like the Covet series and all that, the sours. But like we have one called Puffed and Toasted where she actually did the artwork.
I had that. That was good.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
I should try that. Yep.
Yeah, she killed it on that one. It's really good. Hannah makes some damn good beer.
That might be my favorite beer that I've done so far, actually. I just choked on my beer, by the way, so.
That's all right. So
I went on the wrong side. I got really excited, and then.
So Hannah, let's talk about that, right? So how does what makes a good beer, a good brew, so to speak?
Well, first of all, everybody's palate is going to be different. So what your definition of good is compared to somebody else's, it's very much a matter of personal opinion. For me, when I'm designing beers, I am very, very, very intentional from start to finish. That recipe design, I know why I'm putting the malts in it that I am. I know why I'm using the hops that I am. I know why I'm doing the mash temperature at what I am, or how long I'm choosing to boil it for. Everything has a reason. Beyond that, something that, not to like toot my own horn here, but
but you will.
Something that I guess I always sort of thought that a lot of brewers carried this skill, I guess for lack of a better term, but I'm learning that it's not as common as I thought, but to me it just comes secondhand, and that's creating beers that are very complex and layered, and they're not just one-dimensional. I will bet you that you will never drink a beer that I have done that is one-dimensional. Like, that will never be a descriptor that you use. That's hard for me to explain to somebody else. I think that there's 2 camps of brewers in this world. I think that there's the very technical brewers. Those people tend to be your engineers, your mathematicians, the very black and white, right angles, everything is a yes or no. And then you have the camp of brewers that are more of your intuitive brewers. The brewers that are very technical, say A plus B gets me to C, so on and so forth. And your intuitive brewers go, okay, well, I have A and E, and that gets me to J, I guess. But they can figure out how to get there. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say that one is more important or more right than the other. I fall into the intuitive brewer side, though I do have, technical background as well. But I tend to fall more into that intuitive brewer side. So trying to explain how I create complex beers, that's hard for me to do because it's just something that I do, I guess. But I kind of forget what your question was, to be honest.
No, that's all right. I mean, honestly, just...
What's your favorite color? I think that's what it was.
Orange. I
just asked what your name
Orange
was.
Is my favorite color.
No, it's all good. But to piggyback on what you're just saying, also basically coming up with, your recipe, so to speak, it's like having a baby because then you have to name this precious thing. So let's talk about the names, right? How do you guys come up with the names? How does that all work? Because there's some creative things up there.
It's mostly her. She's the creative one.
The cat ones are funny.
The cat ones, that was
was the best.
So when I came on board, I was told that I could change any recipe, I could get rid of any recipe, I could keep any recipe that I wanted. The only beer that I had to continue brewing and make sure I was on tap. What was that?
You have some nice bosses, right?
It's always been from the very beginning was create an environment. If the brewers, I mean, in the beginning it was me brewing, right, and then we brought on a series of different head brewers because I work full time. You want to grow up, but if you're not creating an environment for your brewers and your staff and everybody to enjoy what they're doing and feel creatively, satisfied, what's the point?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, it goes back to it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's Mom Naked Brew. It's not about me. It's what can I do to facilitate everybody in our organization and outside of that to grow and utilize it and go from there. So it's just
and to utilize the skill sets that come to that person, the skill sets that they already possess, right? So, and I think that that's the sign of a really good and healthy working environment, and also a management structure that allows those underneath of them to spread their wings and capitalizes on their strengths. Instead of trying to make somebody fit into a box, Jim and Sean kind of said,
there is no box.
This entire brewery is the box. You just need to be able to figure out how you want to use it. It's been really, really cool. I'm super thankful to have landed where I did. But so I was really given so much creative freedom. And again, it goes back to that trust, right? Like they hired me for a reason, but they also trusted me, and I'm not one to fail or let people down. So nobody will ever be as critical or hard on me as I am on myself. But the one beer that I was told that I had to make sure stayed in production, but I could tweak the recipe, was cream ale, which, fun fact, cream ale is my favorite style. So that was like did I just die and go to cream ale heaven? So that was like yeah, of course. That's not a problem to keep producing cream ale. So I did tweak the recipe, and I made it the Hannah version. But that was the one beer that I had to keep. So everything else that existed prior to me, several reasons why a lot of those beers are not coming back. One is I didn't actually have full recipes. So it's really hard to recreate a beer that you don't have a full recipe for. It just doesn't set up the right expectations for the customer either. If somebody has had a beer, beer X, and they come in to order it again, and it's made by me, who didn't have a full, complete recipe, beer X is not going to taste like beer X, right? And so that doesn't set anybody up for success. So thankfully, they were super cool and said, fine, get rid of it. As far as names go, this is where I'll get up on my soapbox for just one moment. Being a woman in a very male-dominated industry, obviously has a lot of challenges. I spend a lot of time actually during the week doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work. I'm on several different committees, one of which is an international committee. So a lot of my focus within the industry is how do we make it more inclusive? And being able to use beer as a platform for that is really cool. Having Sean and Jim's support to make beer more inclusive and have it start within, our own four walls has been really, really cool. And there are things that, subtle or not, can help guide somebody to feeling included or not feeling included. And names are a big part of that. So a lot of the names that we have chosen or come up with are genderless. They pretty much talk about something neutral or talk about something that is empowering and sort of sends a message. So, Jim, can I talk about the gentleman?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, there was a beer called The Gentleman that had been in production for several years, and it was a Russian Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels or barrels of some sort, right?
It was apple brandy, yeah.
Apple brandy, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, the original name came from an episode of How I Met Your Mother.
Right.
That's where it
So it was a pop culture reference.
Yeah.
But I wanted to keep that beer in the portfolio, but again, put my spin on it. And this past year, we aged it in bourbon barrels. But I asked, is it okay if we change the name? And it sparked a really good conversation, I think, in the office one evening about how I understand the pop culture reference to that, but to a new customer, that could potentially be a barrier to entry. That could potentially be something that prevents them from trying that beer because it has a connotation to it that could be construed differently than how we intend. But perception and intention are two very different things. And so, trying to make sure that the perception is something that is inclusive, that's super important to all of us. And since I do a lot of the things that involve the naming, I guess, I run it by everybody, obviously. It's, there's been plenty of names that I've tossed out there that have gotten vetoed, so. But yeah, different things like names and label art.
But you didn't say what we changed it to.
Oh, Hello Starshine.
Yeah.
Sorry, right, I didn't say that. We changed it to Hello Starshine. So again, it's just happy. It's hard to feel sad when you hear the words hello and starshine.
Right. And then we have the cat beers too, though.
And we have the cat beers, right.
That's good.
So our artist, she was going through her portfolio, and she did a tattoo for somebody. It was a clown cat.
Okay.
And the drawing, I wish I had one here. I'll have to show it to you. And she goes, that would be a great can. And we're like, well, what would we call the beer? Clown cat. So she came up with a recipe. It's a double dry hopped. Has the same malt bill. There's no lactose, no fruit in it. She changes the hops. So
it's a hazy
IPA. So we had Clown Cat, and then we went to Krampus Cat for Christmas because it was Krampus. We were going to do Krampus Fest.
But we have a group of.
Well, wait. So then we did Krampus Cat. So then all of a sudden now it's a series.
Yeah. Right.
But it's an unintentional series.
Right.
And then we've done Caterpillar, Birthday Cat. The next one is called Fleetwood Cat, which she dressed up as Stevie Nicks and played Rumors the entire time she brewed it. But she changes the hops every time, and it's always a different beer. But we have a feral cat colony at the main location that Hannah has named all the feral cats.
Yeah.
I know you're not supposed to name feral cats because then they're not feral anymore, but
they're feral
seriously,
cats.
they all look like the characters that I've named them after.
They're well fed.
But we're not even cat. Well, you have a cat, but we're not even really cat people. That's the funny thing. We're all dog. Cat. Okay, yeah. See, we're not cat people. But we have this cat series.
But
now.
it's just it makes me laugh. And the one after this is going to be without to say what the next one is.
Oh, Bikini Cat?
Bikini Cat.
Oh, we're doing called Bikini Cat.
It's going to be a hairless, wrinkled cat. It's so ridiculous. I love it. It makes me laugh. Fleetwood Cat makes me laugh every time I think about it.
How often do you guys change your...
Yeah, I mean, it's like the label art is...
Cats every what, about 6 weeks now? Month?
How often do we change our beers?
Well, probably, yeah. Well, the cat series I think will probably be like 4 to 5 weeks.
Right.
I think because that series does really well. And now it's starting to catch on that it is a series, and so
catch on.
Catch on. Going back to I think a question you had sort of asked before, and something that somebody had touched on. For me, creating beers that are part of a series. It's part of that, like, work smarter, not harder. But also, it's increasing your brand recognition, right? So if somebody that is new to Naked Beers sees a cat beer and has previously had one, even if they're not sure what this new one is, if they're, I don't know if I'm going to like this. You know what? I liked that previous cat beer, so I'm going to take a chance on it, and I'm going to buy it. That's just smart. Yeah. Because not only does it make it easier for our front of house staff, but it's almost like you've raised your sale potential by 25% right off the bat just by having something within that series. So we have a number of beers that I'm trying to incorporate into series without being so in your face that it's a series, but you kind of catch on that it is.
So have you guys, in going to, alluding to what you're saying with the theme, has anyone approached you all with a request for something? And you
all the time.
Oh, really?
All the time.
You're making the pomegranate weed again.
Or just a request. I mean, everybody thinks it's easy. Like,
jalapeno
you should really just do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or would you make us a beer? They don't realize that when we make a beer, it's at least 10 barrels, which is 20 half kegs.
Wow.
Like, we can't make just a couple.
Yeah.
And
all the time people want to see.
And back to here's what I appreciate so much too. It had it like besides the quality and the great recipes and all, she's also very conscious about the efficiency of it. Like, how do we best utilize our raw ingredients as well as our equipment and Maxima. So we churn out a lot of different beers, and we're not even at max production, but to maximize everything that's being produced is great. Like the kettle sours being broken. Yeah, right. It's extreme. I don't think there's probably a more labor-intensive brewery around. Maybe not at the definitely not at the quality that we're doing. But it's okay. Like, again, that's what matters. You get this right first, and then you fill in the pieces to facilitate keeping that the same way. That's kind of like going back to real quick to the 2020. It stripped us down to where we want it to be, and we're like, well, if we're going to go for this, we're going to do what we're comfortable with. So
earlier we talked about the obviously the location, obviously the atmosphere, but going along with the beer that you serve is kind of the vibe that you want to have, or you're shooting for in here, right? So you guys want to talk a little bit about some of the music that you guys play. You have artists come out and play for y'all, kind of sets the tone as well, helps set the tone, or so explain a little bit how that came about. You had the little stage thing going.
Well, we really haven't been able to utilize it yet.
Yeah.
We have one musician that plays on Thursdays, a local guy, Dana Collins. He's wonderful. He comes in and he picks a friend every week that comes and plays with him, and he has a small little following that follows him.
Gotcha.
But it's very local here, especially during the week. We have a very local crowd. Saturdays, you get the beer tour people.
Sure.
The people, they want to go around and they do a million flights. And you're just
5 minutes before you close.
Oh my God.
They're the people that are buying the cans and shipping them to their friends across the country,
You're
and spreading the word outside of our 10-mile radius.
You're absolutely right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you need both.
You do need
I'm
both.
hungry. I'm hungry for those people outside that 10-mile radius, baby. That's you know that.
I know.
Yeah, you're right.
That's why we keep canning.
That's why, yeah. But we do have a very local vibe. We get a lot of foot traffic here to the people that know us.
Sure.
We haven't really put ourselves out there yet because, again, I was afraid and wary of all the restrictions and guidelines. Like, what if we have, at one point we could only have 11 people inside this tap room, including staff.
Yeah.
So I would have 12 people, and I'd freak out. Like, inside, I'm like, oh my God, like, what if they come? I was waiting for them to come in and just take me out of here.
Right.
I'm going to get a $1,000 fine. I don't have $1,000.
Right.
You worry about people taking pictures.
Yeah.
Which they do.
Yeah.
They do. You have people that report you for stupid stuff. The pandemic has definitely brought out the ugly in people too. But besides that, but the vibe we're trying to do is just like that local. I want people to come in. I want them to sit down. I want them to have a drink. I want them to be able to talk to each other.
Yeah.
I don't want the music to be loud. I don't want a club vibe.
Yeah.
There's plenty of those around here.
Sure.
Nothing good happens after 10 p.m. So we're good at closing at 10.
Yeah.
It's a pub in the sense of it's a public house. It's a tap room.
I'm in a local pub.
People who were comfortable coming out, during this and continue to come out, crave that. If you notice, we don't have any TVs. We don't do. It's about what the pandemic stripped from people being locked in their houses. Most of us, anyway. I mean, some of us were out still working, but they crave that interaction. They need that, even if it's from 6 feet away.
Yeah.
The ability to be able to sit down and have a conversation with somebody over a beer in a local spot is you can't lose this. This is what humanity is about.
Yeah.
And the great thing about beer is it has always facilitated that. I mean, in Ireland, that's the first, they established a town. First thing they would do, build a church, build a pub.
Yeah.
And then everything went from that point on.
Yeah.
Most cultures, it was the same way. And it's just that you need a gathering place to be able to share ideas and all like that and do it in a communal way. That's to me, that's what I think our vibe really is. I mean, that's who we are. We're we're good people.
Yeah.
That make great beer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so explain some of, I know we talked about a few already, so explain some of the stuff that you do have on tap, outside of the names. Hannah, I don't know if you want to get into it, explain exactly what they are, though, right? Because some of the names, like Thank Frank IPA,
that's a great one.
So Thank Frank. Frank is an actual person.
Yeah.
Frank is a retired steam fitter that used to work with Jim.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Jim's at work all the time.
Yeah.
And things break all the time.
Mondays usually.
Usually Mondays.
I could be there all weekend, and I would get a text, on Monday at like 8 o'clock.
Or at 6 a.m. when I'm trying to mash it.
Exactly.
Right.
Of course it didn't break, because, but anyway.
So we would call Frank, and Frank comes in and fixes stuff. And he's just a wonderful, wonderful person.
He's a sweetheart.
And she was like, I need to make, this is a core beer, by the way. This is a beer we always have on. She's like, I want to make a nice West Coast IPA, nice, clean, crisp. And we're like, what are we going to call it? And it was actually Hannah's idea, I think, with Frank. We're like, we're going to call it Frank. And then we were all talking in the office one night. I think we had a couple beers. And then she goes home, and in the middle of the night, she texts us, Thank Frank. We're going to call it Thank Frank, because we always thank Frank.
Yeah.
And he loves it. And he loves it. And his friends all come and buy it. It's so funny.
Yeah, the label works great. It's got a green hat, 420. It says 4. That's our local number, which is
which
also
everybody
funny.
thinks. Everybody thinks it's a weed beer. It's not.
Tomorrow's 420, but that just makes it even funnier. But that just happens to be our local number too. So,
that's funny.
It's great. So, but
That label art I actually drew first.
Right.
So it has this wrench on it, but it's like this really cool line art. But when I drew it, it looked very phallic.
Not that Frank would. I'm sure you still like it.
Yeah.
That's
so
great.
and actually, so cute story about Frank. He's such a good man. The most recent batch of Thank Frank, when I had it in the bright tank and it was Carby, and Frank came in one day. I forget what he was fixing. He was fixing something. And he went over to the tank and he's like, "Oh, is that my beer?" I was like, "Yeah, that's your beer." And he went over and he hugged the tank. And it was so stinking cute. Because he's just, he's like this big,
tall
dude that and he was just like, "I love you, Tank." Super cute. But Thank Frank is another beer that I actually have plans to sort of turn into a series with other variations of it. And I'm kind of taking pages from other breweries' books, but it's not, nobody's really original anymore. It doesn't really matter. It's not like I'm stealing trade secrets or anything, but you find a flagship beer, as Sean said, this is a flagship for us. You find a flagship beer and then you go, well, what else can I do with it? Because people already kind of have that brand recognition again, right? So they know it's going to be an easy drinking West Coast IPA. It's going to have some good hop character, and then you build off of that. So I've plans for that beer. So hopefully we'll be seeing some other stuff come out of that.
What's funny especially with the three of us, is we're like, you got all these crazy milkshake beers and all kinds but in the end, the three of us usually like, what's your, give me a cream ale. We do a bitter,
I'm drinking Jenny Cream dry hop, so.
There you go, right. We like our lagers, we like our bitters, we like our Irish reds, like just a solidly made West Coast IPA. I mean, just beers.
Yeah,
what I mean?
For sure.
Because for us, usually you go into a place, you give me oh, you got a lager on? Let me try your lager. Because if you're doing that right, I'm pretty sure your Imperial Stout is good. You know what I mean? So. But you can dress it up with all kinds. A lot of places have, you can dress it up all kinds of different ways and all, and that's cool, But you gotta have these good, solid base beers in. You have to.
So Buck Naked was named because we're in Bucks County and we're off of Buck Road. I'm getting back to his question.
Yeah.
Parting Glass is because it's
That's
his
my
dad's
dad's beer,
beer.
yeah.
It's an Irish song.
It's based off of Finnegan's Wake, where they laid Tim Finnegan out with a bottle of whiskey and a bottle of porter. So after my dad passed, I decided to create a beer for him, and that's kind of where it went. And again, this is Hannah's version of it, which is awesome. It's we pay homage to the beers that we've kept in as far as naming wise, but have tweaked them to make them better. This particular version was bourbon barrel aged.
Okay.
It's exceptional.
But the base beer is a smoked porter. So she had split that, and Puffed and Toasted is actually the same base beer as Parting Glass. So because it had that smoky quality to it, she was like, what am I going to do with this beer when we split it? And that was really hard for you. Like, it was hard. Like, you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And then she came up with s'mores. And, of course, I'm sure because we were all puffing, she was like, she texted, she's like, Puffed and Toasted. And we're like, we just cracked up. And we're like, yeah.
And
That name? Go ahead.
The name is spectacular, and this is what I love about what we do. The name is like, that's an interesting guy. But then you see the artwork is just absolutely gorgeous, and you're going like, well, okay, that wasn't what I was thinking about. But it's just like, again, the Naked thing is like we've always had this like double entendre, tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. So it's kind of like, you create this own narrative in your head before when you first hear the name or you look at it, and that's what's so engaging as well. But
I love it.
What are you going to say about
that? So I think something, and this goes right into the pandemic question, something that a lot of beer consumers, I think, are not 100% aware of, and they shouldn't, because, quite frankly, consumers should be able to just enjoy beer and not be weighed down with what goes into it. But at the same time, I think a lot of consumers are very, very unaware of all of the things that breweries, especially small breweries, have had to do in order to stay afloat during the pandemic. Things like splitting a batch of beer so I'm already brewing half the capacity of what my fermenters can hold, and then splitting that again, and trying to figure all of the logistics out of how to make that work. And I have one base beer, and what do I do with the other half of it? There's a lot of challenges that go into that. It is double the amount of work for half the amount of beer. But it's what needs to happen, and we're all on board with that concept. But there's a lot of challenges that have gone into trying to figure this out. And as Sean said, figuring out what to do with the other half of this smoked porter. This was a conversation that started months before that beer ever came out, because I try to build out a production schedule quarterly, but honestly I have it done through September, so and I've had it done since February. So most of these beers have sort of been in process in my mind of how I'm going to make it work, and Puffed and Toasted and Parting Glass were part of that. We started planning for that. Oh gosh, guys, like October maybe, October and November. I don't know. It was definitely months before it came out. So trying to figure out how to make that work, because a smoked porter, I love smoked beers. I would drink a campfire if I could. It makes me such a happy girl. But most people don't like smoked beers. So you know what I like more than a smoked beer though is money and making money. So trying to figure out how to make that smoked porter into something that will be profitable. And
the consumer always, especially now, they get bored so easily. You always have to come up with
something.
Oh my
gosh.
New. I mean, we have our orders, but everybody's like, oh, that was so great, we sold out of it, why don't you make it again? Because you wouldn't come back and buy it, because you want what's new.
Right.
Always have to have something new. It's exhausting.
The Amazon mentality, it's just like, it's what can I get immediately, right now, what's new, I want it right now.
Yeah.
And that's not how brewing works, but but we do our best, so.
But that's how the beer world is right now.
I know.
And if we don't have something new, there's 15 other breweries within a 10-mile radius of us that have, I mean, between all of those, 150 options.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. That's something that's drastically changed over the last 10 years. There was a handful of us, but which I think is a great thing. I'm not I love it. I mean, it's the more the better.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's good. And plus, it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
Listen, that's the reality. If you're not making great product, hey, you better make good egg rolls. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
before we get into any parting words, I want to go around the horn here. Jim, we'll start with you. Ideally, where you want to see you guys in the next 2-3 years, and then Sean and Hannah.
2 or 3 years, man. I don't plan 2 or 3 days. I love where we're at. I would like to take this, and obviously, a little more revenue would be nice. You know what I mean? Just so we can continue to grow what it is we're doing. But at its core, at this moment, I honestly couldn't be happier. But I would love to be able to fill the team in a little bit more, people with the same ideals in mind, free us up with a little bit more flexibility, because I think we thrive in an environment, the three of us, where we have a little bit, we're not as stressed as far as the day-to-day stuff. So if we can free us up a little bit on every aspect of it, I think we just keep doing what we're doing, because I think we're making what we want to make. We just want to do it a little differently, keep it growing and go from there. Maybe look at expanding canning on the core beers, get it further out, into the ether, with some mobile canning would be nice. Eventually dress this area out. The idea down here was to create a sour program, which that needs to be built properly. Again, that was the thing we decided this year. It was to reset and go, no, we're going to do everything. We're going to do it the right way from the ground up and build from that point. So we're not trying to go, we can make this work. So it's just, again, as hard as this is, as many hours we all put it in, it's just, I honestly couldn't be prouder and happier with, I sleep well at night. I mean, I know we're doing the best we can. It's just, be nice just to not get our balls kicked in every once in a while from neighbors about music and stuff. Yeah. It's the people who either, you don't have to be on board with it, just get out of the way, though. Yeah. Seriously. It's just not, I don't want to hear about it. Nobody's dragging you out of your house to come down here. Yeah. So that's all. And keep making great beer for everybody. That's all.
Love it.
That's it.
Sean?
Oh, jeez.
Sorry. Could follow that one up.
I know.
You can also say ditto. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, expand. I would like to grow in Bristol. I see the potential here in Bristol. It's a lovely community.
Yeah.
For the most part, you have a couple of the rotten eggs, which we talked about earlier. But people do want to come here, and in order to bring people here to this town, you have to have restaurants and bars. They're not coming for the antique shops. They're not. Yeah.
Well, maybe one.
Maybe. They're coming for bar, and that brings people into the shops. Then that brings and the community needs to get on board with that, especially the older community that's in here.
And there is a new distillery going right on the other side.
Distillery, right? Two distilleries.
And Dad's Hats opened up a tasting room across from us.
Oh, let's see
where
that.
Spicing Company is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
It's here.
Yeah.
The people in power have decided it's okay. It's gone through zoning. It's approved.
Yeah.
It's just that there's people within the community have to go, oh, well.
You live in a downtown area. Yeah. You move to a downtown area. You're not in the suburbs.
Yeah. It's like me moving into the city and going, I like it here. I just didn't know there was this many people.
Right.
I mean, it's that obtuseness that makes me insane. It's just like, okay. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I like to hire more people to work the tap room so that I can be back in production and do what I like with Hannah.
Yeah.
I like being back there in our little world, doing our thing and making beer. I miss that. I miss it a lot.
I know. I miss having you back there and not working by myself.
Yeah. Same.
I want to retire soon so I can do it full
having
time.
A couple days off would be nice with my family. What's that? But yeah, I want to expand. I just want to be successful. I want people to be happy. I don't want to be rich. Trust me, you're not going to be rich owning a brewery, ever. People think because you own a small business, I'm sure you know that. They all think you're running in money. You're not. They don't understand. It's your money that's running the business.
But yeah, there's you know what? There's nothing like walking out of the back or coming in here when we're open and just seeing the
customers enjoying the product. Yeah,
it's the whole reason for doing it. Otherwise, we'd still be brewing in our garage. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, that's what I feed off of. I mean, it's as hard as a week might be. You go, wow, you might get this awesome compliment, or people are extremely excited. Oh my God, you're one of the owners. Again, it's not a big, but they love that. When I'm canning on a Saturday, I love coming out with a beer that I'm just canning. It's not released yet. Like, guy came in for his birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, it's your birthday? When I was canning Birthday Cat, I'm like, happy birthday. Like, that kind of stuff, being able to do that, it's just such a unique experience for the customer.
Yeah.
And again, you know, if Hannah's there, they get to talk to the brewery. It's everything they have in their mind about, oh, I'm coming to a local brewery. So we get to do all of that and still brew at a decent sized volume. To me, it's kind of the best of all worlds that way. I mean, there's other things we could do to make things better, but, you know, it's just, I don't know. I like it. I do love it down here, though.
I do love Bristol.
And the people. We got some help now, though, so we're starting to.
All right, Hannah, you're up to bat.
One, I would love to see.
We know.
What? What do you think I'm going to say?
I don't know. A yeast propagator? A
yeast
bulldog?
drink. Yeah.
A yeast brink?
Yeah. Yeah, but those things are attainable. I can touch them right now. I can touch them.
Almost.
They're within reach.
Yeah. Yes.
No, I would love to see us be able to expand the production team. I would love to be able to have some level of consistency with production, which has been so hard. It's not our fault that there isn't consistency with production. It is just been the state of the world, and when the governor decides to shut you down for 3 weeks in December, like, then what do you do? So getting some semblance of normalcy back into the world, I think, will create building consistency. And then from there, hopefully being able to expand the production team. And hopefully Sean will be able to return to production someday. I would love in the next 2 to 3 years to have our own canning line that is less arduous and requires less labor than what we have, because I think the three of us have so many great ideas and plans, and I know my brain is filled with beer ideas, and our bottleneck is packaging, and that is a pivot that we had to make, and I'm glad that we made it, and we're doing what we can with what we have. You know, we're working within the confines of what we have, and we're making it work because we have to, and because we want to, but because we have to. And so, you know, my brain is always scheming, going, all right, so who wants to be my fairy godmother and canning line? But yeah, I mean, honestly, just continuing to do what we're doing. I know that we're making good beer, and that isn't just me. That is, you know, from start to finish, there were other people involved besides just me. And I know that we're doing and making good beer. We just need the rest of the beer community to recognize this new model that we have, I guess. And, you know, that requires time. And I think that we've made some really good strides in getting different recognition, I guess. But I'm not done. Like, I'm far from done. I'm going to keep pushing, and yeah. So, I don't know. 2 to 3 years from now, let's just all hope that we're still employed and the world isn't burning. So.
Absolutely. All right, so folks who are trying to get in contact with you or reach out, come pay you all a visit, where can they come? How can they reach you? Social media?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram. Come see us at Bristol. Definitely come see us at Bristol. We're open Thursday through Sunday. We're going to start opening up Tuesday, Wednesdays as well. We have a new bartender coming in, a local woman. So that'll be nice. And then our main tap room, we're open there Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. Yeah. Social media.
Yeah, we're on tap in a couple.
Local.
Yeah, we're on tap in a couple local spots, but primarily everything's
both tap rooms.
Both tap rooms, which is great. I mean, this is again, we have complete control over the level of experience. We know what our tap lines look like. We know where to clean. We know how we're serving it. We know that our bartenders understand what they're explaining. Once it leaves your house, you don't know what's happening to it. Right. So it's always like, it's ours. How do we? Yeah, so you're always going to get a better experience, or opinion. I mean, in our 2 spots. So yeah, definitely.
Cool. Hannah, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, keep supporting local. Support small businesses, support local. And, it's, yes, the financial support of purchasing something is obviously the biggest impact. But there's so many other ways that you can help support local, and you guys are helping us do that. So thank you for helping push that. But yeah, share social media posts, write a good review, tell your friends, just organic word of mouth. Buy a gift card, even if it's not for you. Even if you aren't a beer drinker, buy a gift card as a gift for somebody. There's so many different ways that you can help support local. And again, it's not even just speaking about us, but about any local business, because we're all hurting.
We're all in this together.
We hope to be able to see everybody, come out of this on the other side when we can actually convene at, more than 50 or 75%, and be able to raise a victorious pint with everybody.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's a good name for a beer. Victorious pint.
Yeah.
Victory
Got it in my phone right now.
Probably, yeah.
Doesn't Victory already have that?
Actually, we should collab that with them.
I don't know.
Naked
put it in my
and Victorious.
There you go.
That was a no.
Did that already get vetoed?
That's usually how it goes.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah. That's my male stream of consciousness.
Listen, I have a very, very, very dirty mind. I say fuck like it is the word the.
Yeah.
So when I get skeptical of something and I go, I don't know about that, it is not because I'm personally offended. It's because I'm thinking about the general.
Yeah, it's filtered.
Public.
It's filtered
I'm
through the
a
public.
persona.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just as important for us to get that. Like me just getting that out. I went, oh, good, it's out of my head now.
Yeah.
That's all that. It's almost like, okay, that's gone now. Go play.
part of the
Go play with the
process.
rest of the crazy ideas over there. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much what it's about.
That's true, actually.
Right. It's like,
It is true.
That's part of the process. I got it.
right. Because the first
Yeah.
image that came into my head was a baby being born. So it was just like, that was never going to work. So, see, that's what happened.
No.
I don't know.
going on over there?
See, that's why. And that's why it's not going to be a name of a beer. Which
It's
is
been
cool.
way too long.
I'm okay.
I have never thought about a baby being born when I've named a beer.
I think about, yay, naked and victorious. So it's like I'm born, I'm out, and when I think of naked, I think of babies. I don't know why, but maybe I need
you're
to
not
revisit
wrong.
that. Yeah,
He's not right, though, either.
no.
It's not right.
But we're gonna have
I don't
Bikini
like
Cat,
children, so maybe that's part of it.
maybe. But we will have Bikini Cat. So
Yeah, which was, ironically, that was already written on my production calendar as the kitty cat with a question mark, and then we had a team meeting to discuss upcoming beers and figure out the schedule, and we were talking about what to name one of the cat beers, and I think it was Jim that said the kitty cat, and I was like, and I turned and showed him my calendar, I was like, it's already written on here.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
So that's usually how it goes. If 2 of the 3 of us go, it's a no-brainer. But usually we're all pretty in tune with that kind of stuff. It's just
yeah.
If it makes
Yeah.
us giggle, we're like all about it. So yeah.
Yep.
All right, so Naked Brewing,
Awesome.
there you have it. We like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one is by Robert Louis Stevenson. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. And the second one by Vincent van Gogh. I would rather die of passion than of boredom. Craft Brewery. In this episode, we have the crew from Naked Brewing Bristol. We cover topics that range from small business, brewing beer, customer service, effects of the coronavirus, and much more. Wrap the episode up with quotes from Vincent van Gogh and Robert Louis Stevenson. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success, available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.